So here we have the token EGLD, otherwise known as MultiversX. And if we look at this, we can see quite an interesting chart pattern. We obviously had this massive impulse up to an all-time high at $545, and we've completely sort of retraced down into this $15 range. I think this is an interesting one because tokens like this, you can have quite a lot of upside playing around in this region. So I think we can break this down and see where you can potentially have some good opportunities. So as always, we will come up here and we will mark out the all-time high. And similarly, if we come down here, we can mark out the all-time low. And I'll make that line red. And then we can come out here and we can mark out some levels that we see. So working down, what levels do we have? We have a level there. I will change that to white. And I'll put monthly. We've got a monthly level there. What else do we have coming along? We've got a monthly level here. So if we scroll up, this might show a little bit better. So we have a monthly level there. We've got one just below there at 47. We can go through and we can refine that. Not quite a level there. This one I will move there. Come across. This is a really interesting one because we've got a reversal there. And there's an interesting one here as well. But they're all a little bit too close. I quite like this one here at 2023. We come down. You've got one there at 13. And if we zoom in, do we have one here? We do. 16, right, so got some interesting levels to play about with. So I will type in monthly, just mark these lines out. Right, so do we have any? I'll just put that back. Do we have any other? I think there's that one's quite an interesting one because that is the impulse there at 7. So I will also mark that out. Right, so I reset chart view, so we can see we've got a lot going on down here, not a lot going on further up. So if we break it down into the weekly, what can we see? And we zoom in, we can move some of our lines around. So I think looking at this, what do we have? We've got this line here which I can put there. So if I refine that, that's quite an interesting one. This one, move down slightly. I'll mark that there as a weekly. This one we can play around with and move to there, and that's quite interesting because that also captures some of this. This one we can move up slightly to capture that. What else do we have? There's an interesting level there that I'll put in. And we've got this one which I will move up slightly to there. On a weekly level up here at 57. Another one there. And I think that's given us quite an interesting bit to go off. So if we look along, what else do we have? I'm going to put in a little level there just so we have some nice things to play around with. So you can see where it's moving around. We're currently sat on that monthly level. So if we stick on the, actually if we go on the monthly, we can have a look at where the volume sits on this. So if we get our fixed range across from here all the way, so where can we see volume? So I think this is an area that's of interest. I think there's an interesting area there, but I think actually if we go in on the lower time frame, this may be a little bit easier to spot. So particularly around where we're currently sat, I think for me is where I'd be of most interest on this. So if we stretch this across to cover this bit, so we can see we have this point of control just below the monthly here. So I will Alt-H to cover there, and I will put a purple line. We also have an area there, have this one just above the monthly before a bit of a void, and then we can see there's quite an interesting area here that we can just box out. So if we dive a bit deeper in and look on the daily, so we can see the two big volume bits is just below that, and I will just move that up ever so slightly to cover that. So we can see this is an area reversal 1523, and we see this high volume area at 22.5. So if I get this, and I'll put a horizontal ray here as to where we can expect some reactions. So in the short term, let's have a look at the 4 hour and see where we're currently sat. So we can see nice push up. This weekly level here is a really interesting area because every time it's come down and previous impulse to gain, and we can see as it's fallen, it's tested, come back tested. So if we don't hold this line here and make a reversal, I think we can probably expect it to come to the weekly, and if it finds a support of the weekly, we have some interesting targets to aim upwards at. If I zoom, I take that off and have a look at volume on a really near term. So let's see where in this range we can expect to see things. So this can move up slightly, and we see there we are, there's an interesting point. So that is a really key point. I quite like this area here. If we do retrace, that you may see something there. Yeah, I think it's in an interesting spot, certainly to trade. I'd either look for a hold of this monthly level and then look at how we extend to both the weekly with a wick up to this area here, or if we come down and we either bounce here or we bounce off the weekly. I think I'd be concerned if we lost this weekly, because then I think you're looking at probably either a bounce down here or a full retest of this monthly level. But yeah, plenty of room to play around with this, and plenty of upside potentially if it does break out.